All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you. Peace out to the rest of you. You know who it is. Black heart, black mind, black and again. Hit the share button. Each one, reach one, teach one. Because the message is more important than I am. Let me get right to it. This is part 2 of What About the Former IDNS and my part 2 of my last one too. Or second to last one. No, my last one. The real lessons that we should be learning from the bad boys. Gentlemen, the first thing I want you to keep in mind, whether you're going to articulate this to women in debates or not, I want you to keep this in mind, gentlemen. This is very important. Number one, women are going to give you the same answer when you give them the same hypothetical, and you should give them the same hypothetical situation if you have to debate them at all. Now, if you're not going to debate them, then you should just understand the hypothetical and what they're going to choose. I will tell you what it is and what they'll choose. In 2000 and 2001, I asked several ladies at my job a question. You get a choice between a set of triplets. You can choose any one of the three. They're triplets. So many things about them are similar in terms of their upbringing, their looks, their height. They work for the same family business, so the incomes and lifestyle are roughly the same. Here's the difference. One is a womanizer. The other one is an ex-womanizer. The other one is a virgin. Which one do you pick? Now, I asked 12 ladies at the job this question. 11 of them said they would choose the ex-womanizer, and they all gave the same reason. He has the experience. I don't have to teach him anything, but he's not going to F around on me. Okay, now, the 12th one said she would take the virgin. I said to her, excellent. I know some virgins. Should I introduce you? She said, I'll decline, thank you very much. So she wasn't serious. Now, that 12th one has since then grown old. She lives now she lives with her mother. And she works and she goes home, looks after her mom who's up in age and ill. She doesn't have much of a life outside of that. She's not a mean person, but she's by herself. There is nobody else. There is no man coming to check for her. When she was young, she had options. I gave her a chance myself before I asked her this question. She was so spoiled for choice that she probably spent most of her life by herself and hardly ever got some ding-a-ling. Then again, she may have decided to ride that carousel. I'm not really sure. But also, this is Atlanta. I'm not going to go through the story of how I gave her a chance and she kind of screwed that up. And then she thought that I blew it, actually, when in reality, she'd messed that up. What I will say is that 11 out of the 12 chose the ex-womanizer because he brought the benefit of both worlds. In order for a man to be that ideal ex-womanizer that the women want, he must first be a womanizer. Now, since women's standards demand that other women have had their feelings hurt by the same man, why should the next woman not be one of those that gets her feelings hurt the same way? That right there shuts down the illegitimacy of their preferences. Gentlemen, they do have, they can have their preferences and they will, but you're not required to respect them as though they're legitimate. Now, you're required to let them have them and make their own choices, and they're required to deal with the consequences. Much like my colleague that actually tried to be slick and say, I'll take the virgin, and then she really showed she didn't mean it. Don't get it ucked up. You can choose to debate them or not. It doesn't matter to me. What you must know and you must understand is that this is the choice that most of them in the West are going to make. Now, the same thing goes for the outright IDNS. Because see, there's like the bad boy with women, and then there's the IDNS. And there's overlap, but some people are going, in case you ask me which one I'm talking about, I'm going to let you know right off the bat, I'm aware of the difference and the overlap. So I will discuss them in different contexts in certain ways. But what about the non-formers? Gentlemen, morally speaking, you are not required to go through a dirty dick phase or a nigger phase or a phase of both. in order to be a real man, real enough of a man to qualify for an attractive and cooperative woman by your standards. Cooperative by any standards, attractive by yours. You have been led to think that if you don't go through this lost nigga phase in one form or another, then you're not really man enough for a woman that's worth anything to look at, and then have her treat you like you're actually, her type. Now, that's how we were socialized, especially my age group, and I assume younger. I know the guys a little bit older than me don't have that sort of thinking as ingrained in them. But amongst my age group and younger, that is the absolute message that's been sent to us. You must be a IDNS or a dirty ding-a-ling dude first. If you never go through that, you're too innocent, you're not enough of a man, and you deserve to be by yourself or stuck with the ones that are unattractive. And hell, not even just unattractive by your standards. They got to be unattractive by everybody's standards. They got to be as wide as they are tall. If you want a young one so you can have kids, they got to be too old for that. If you want an older one because of their maturity, then they have to be too young for that. Doesn't matter. You deserve to be stuck with whatever the hell it is you don't want, and nobody else would want just because. Because of a default. Because of a norm. Because you stayed on the lifestyle for which you were actually designed, wherein there was some morality and some responsibility. The Pakistani Muslim community in the UK is broken like the black community in the US. They have stuff we don't even have problems with. They got people killing each other. They got cousins who will kill each other over land in Pakistan. I shit you not. I saw the video. The police came and arrested one guy for the same reason. I'm not making that up. That's an actual story. They got into an argument. They all got to interrupting each other because just like black American niggas, British niggas think they know everything. So they interrupt everybody. Really frustrate you, get your temper up. Somebody gets stabbed. I saw how they argued. I don't care about the one that did the stabbing or the ones that got stabbed after I saw how they argued. Good riddance to both of them. One dead, the other in prison. Because they Muslims. If this is what that's going to mean, then we don't need them in the ummah. Straight like that. Especially considering that a camera was rolling. Somebody was videotaping it. The cops didn't show up till later. So there was no cop video until the murderer opened the door and there was blood every goddamn where. One of them videotaped the argument. These are niggas with a capital N and 4 G's in the middle. So our situation is less unique than we think. And it is different from the ones to which other people of color try to compare it, but it is less unique than we tend to think it is. So consequently, what I'm getting at is that these folks that follow the same dysfunction have to deal with the same brokenness that we do. And one of the brokennesses or one of the dysfunctions is that the women in their community, especially the ones that are nice to look at, want former IDNS. They want the guy that used to be Batman and Roadman and all this other stuff on them streets of the UK, stabbing people and getting stabbed, getting tattoos, getting gold teeth, trying to be a rapper, all that stuff. They want the guy that used to do all that, but then stopped, and mashallah, he's practicing Islam now and praying 5 times a day and giving talks to the youth. Talking to the kids, yeah, isn't it? Giving advice to the youth, isn't it? Keep them off these streets like I was. Now he's doing that. And that's the one they really love, and they'll go and they'll go and tell their Baba, but Daddy, I really love him, and he was such a bad guy, and now he's Muslim and he's practicing and mashallah. I don't want to hear that. Because there are guys in these neighborhoods that outnumber these gangsters. The guys in these neighborhoods, they're just poor. They're not bad. They're not road man. They're not carrying knives. They're just poor. That's all. And they're practicing Islam. They're praying 5 times a day, and they grow up this way, and they bypass that nigger phase. And these women would not look twice at them because they're not seen as real men because of bad shit that they didn't do. Because they never had to. These women also, coming from multiple generational Muslim families that did not have this kind of dysfunction, grow up in the UK, and then they have it. They're the first generation to be that ucked up. Their own mothers don't understand them. Their own mothers are saying, look, your dad and I know this family, and their son's responsible. He's clean. And you won't even consider marrying him. But you want this guy that's got tattoos and gold teeth, and you want to tell us that he's changed now. And maybe he did. But what about the guy that never went through this phase? Because if you marry the one that's changed now, let's say you get a good job in another country, he can't get a passport to go. Because he's so damn bad, or because he was so damn bad, he's stuck here. But you, oh my. So now he's going to hold you back. And they will also use the religious moral teachings of second chances, which are not necessarily wrong by definition, but they will use these things to justify why they don't want the guy that never went that nigger route to begin with and has none of the permanent effects of it. No tattoos, no gold teeth, no withheld passports, no criminal convictions, nothing like that. If he stays on the straight and narrow and gets a good job, he can go any damn where. I want you to think about that and to consider that and keep that in mind. I'm talking to you men, because the women that are stuck on that BS, they're not stuck on the reformed pookie or the ex-IDNS because they've changed. They're stuck on them because of the bad stuff they used to do, and they think that maybe they get to escape some of the consequences of the bad things these dudes used to do. As far as God is concerned, if they only want these bad dudes, they don't deserve to sidestep any of the consequences of the bad stuff these dudes did. As far as God is concerned, I'm not telling you his opinion that he didn't share with me. I'm telling you what actually plays out. So whatever he thinks in his mind and doesn't reveal to us, I'm not speaking on that. I don't speak for the inner thoughts of the Lord. I speak for what he allows to manifest in front of me. And this is one of those things. You get stuck. And even if he means well, and there are those who do, there's a level past which they're not able to go right off the bat. And you're going to see, if you actually get to know these ladies and you see the insides of their relationships, you're going to see that they're going to eventually have arguments, because she's going to say, well, why don't we move here? Or what about I take this job over here? And he's going to say, but I can't go there, but I can't leave here. I can't live there. Because you see, these decisions that they made affect where they can live later. And they stop their ability in certain cases to leave the United States. So when these ladies are talking this mess, it's because they still want itness. They want Pookie. They want Ray Ray. They want Pistol Toter. They want Mac 12, Lil Uzi. That's what they want. And they think if they get the one, if they can just get lucky enough to get the one that stepped out of that stuff, then they don't have to worry about getting shot because they're at the wrong place at the wrong time, because he's done with that. Or they don't have to worry about the police kicking their door in to find the drugs, because he's done with that. They think, and they don't realize that no, that's not guaranteed. The cops may still kick in his door at night thinking he's still got the dope, even if he doesn't have it. Now you got to live with that. No, it's not a guarantee that somebody that has a grudge against him is not going to come back when they see him making a public speaking engagement or something. You know, somebody might still have a grudge. Believe you me. I didn't even live that life. There's a nigga against whom I got a grudge. If he starts making a ton of money on public speaking engagements and I get a shot, I get a crack at this dude, I'm gonna take him out. I hate him that much, and I'm a regular normal guy. Now, what you think an actual thug looking at another ex-thug would do, and you with him? I'm just telling y'all straight away, right off the bat. These are fantasies that these women have. Do not entertain these fantasies. An actual ex-pookie, an actual ex-Ignis, if they're really reformed, should be indistinguishable at first glance to someone that doesn't know them from a never before, a non-former Ignis. They should be against that whole culture and the whole ethos. That means no. What that means is you don't say no snitching, you say snitch. In a anti-white supremacist revolutionary black militant context, you could say no snitching, meaning no snitching to the white man. But that also means that you take care of certain things your doggone self, but then you might have to be an Ignis to do it. So it's a rough line it's another quandary. But no, you don't sit up and just tell black folk stop snitching. What you mean stop snitching? So let a murderer get away with the murder? Let a robber get away with the robbery? Let a thief get away with the theft? Stop snitching? No, nigga, snitch. You might not snitch on a black revolutionary like Doroba bin Wahad or Assata Shakur. Sure, don't snitch, but that's not the context in which this mantra is often repeated. Stop snitching. No, nigga, start snitching. A real ex-Ignis needs to be with the start snitching movement. Unless, of course, like I said, it's for revolutionary reasons, and we ain't there yet. So tell the former Ignis, if you know that he's a former Ignis, that his serious repentance and reform is contingent upon him being against what he used to be, and telling the youth that their whole culture in which they look up to this kind of stuff is stupid. This needs to be understood. But tell the ones that are clearly former Ignis, you can tell, now they just preaching wisdom and righteousness, but they still got the nigga swag in the voice and in the way they walk. And they don't actually have a clear path out of it. And they still have some of the ethos of you know, the Ignis lifestyle. Man, stop snitching. I ain't saying be no punk, be no bitch. I ain't saying you gotta, I ain't saying you gotta punctuate everything you write. I ain't saying you gotta spell everything correctly. Nope, fuck that. You still Ignis. Bye. Go back over there with that bull. Now you have nowhere to go. You can't go back over there with them because you left the life. That's fine. You can't come over here with us either. Because we are against that culture over there, and you're bringing some remnants of that with you. We don't need that. No, nigga, you have to spell everything correctly. You have to punctuate the end of every sentence. You have to have a pro-academic culture. Snitching depends on whether somebody's in trouble for doing something right or doing something wrong. If they did something that is wrong, and that's why folks are looking for them, rat that jigaboo out. That's our culture. Because we're not Ignis. We're not intentionally dysfunctional, negative stereotypes. We got to get rid of that stuff. Just like over there in the UK, in the Muslim communities, populated mostly by Muslims of Pakistani heritage and then Muslims of Bengali and Indian heritage after that, are going to have to, their women are going to have to stop saying to their parents, but he's changed now. Because here's what happens. Over there as well, Just like over there where you are in the States, what happens in the UK. These ladies oftentimes find that while he might be reformed in terms of certain criminal activities, there are other things that he still is a part of. And if he was successful with the women because he was a part of that IDNS roadman lifestyle, he's going to probably have some ex-girlfriends. So you married him and you think he's mashallah pious. Look, when he takes off that thobe and goes into the old neighborhoods, he still has the tattoos. And if he wants to go see his old girlfriend with the good snatch, he can do it. And she doesn't even know that he's supposedly a changed man now. Has no clue. And you might see some of those text messages on the phone. When you're coming back to give me some sausage, isn't it? You know. I mean, you know, he may get that message in his phone. And one of the things that they might like to send that to his phone, especially if, you know, if they have that joking relationship and, you know, she's a white chick, she can send that to his phone. Pocky penises matter. In other words, packy penises matter. And I'm not using that as a pejorative. I know packy is a pejorative term. I'm saying that she might use that as a pejorative term. That's what I'm getting at. Because they can have that joking relationship and you're going to see something like that in your phone. And that's the least of it. You may run into economic or financial hard times and all of a sudden he found some money. No, he decided to take a little dip back into it and he hadn't gotten caught yet. Whatever it was he did before to get that money. They let him back in to get out of hard times. But then they let him back in. They did him a favor. So if he wants to leave it behind and be done, they come back to him and like, look, you know, we cut you in, man. Now we need you to help us out. Hide this gun. And somebody is going to snitch and say that he's the one with the gun. And the cops are going to find a gun on him. That's what the hell is going to happen. Same thing over there in North America. Gentlemen, you don't have to tell these ladies this. You just need to know these things yourselves. Just keep these things in mind and make it understood that a real reformed IDNS is not even the one we have to have a debate about. We're debating because of the ones that are kind of reformed but not truly reformed. Really what we're saying is a reform by any name is not automatically sufficient. What we're saying is that there is a high minimum of reform necessary for one to actually be an ex-IDNS as far as the rest of us are concerned who want to take the community somewhere else to a better level, to a better place, or start a better community elsewhere, preferably the second one. Because I'll be the first one to tell you, hijra is a necessity. It's also called repatriation. Now, repatriation means you leave the country. Hijra means you leave any particular area. If you got to leave your hood to go somewhere else to better yourself, but it's still in the same country and that's as far as you can go, go ahead. That's hijra. But most of us are going to have to leave the United States and start something elsewhere. Because, let's be honest, we already know too many educated sisters that ain't ratchet as far as you can tell on the surface still want the IDNS or the ex-IDNS. And the fact that many of you were never IDNS to begin with disqualifies you. And I don't just mean disqualify. They're going to say, well, it doesn't mean that we're disqualifying them from humanity and building in the community and things. We just don't want to screw them. No, that's enough right there. Because, okay, so you don't want to screw them. Then why do you want them to raise your kids and mentor your kids? They still want you, the non-former, to look after the babies you could not have possibly conceived because there's no way they would have carried your baby to term. That's why. Yes, it's about the sex. It's not only about it, but we have to make sure we always remind them that it's going to be about that at some point. Not only for the health aspects of it and the short-term benefits, but also because that is the means by which communities continue. And that's a necessity. In a nutshell, the IDNS and the former IDNS and the reformed pookie and the current Pookie is really nothing other than the penis they don't want to let go. Think of them as the sex toy. And you're telling this lady, if you want to be righteous and come with us, you're going to have to give up that sex toy and leave it behind and come over here with us. We starting something where that kind of sex toy is not allowed. And they're like, no. That's what they're saying. No. You can't have your sex toy, but we can have ours. Gentlemen, I'm just going to be honest. If that means that you got to bounce and that you cannot be with someone inside of your race, then you just can't be with someone inside of your race to start your legacy. So what? That was up to them. They made that decision anyway. It ain't your fault. That being said, I think you got the idea. We just can't afford the so-called reformed Pookie. Now, the actual real reformed one is one that we should not, we're not even capable of debating that, because the sufficiently reformed one is the one that we can't identify as having ever been an IDNS or a Pookie without knowing them or without them telling us. Now, that one is reformed. You wouldn't even know it, so you can't argue about it. That should be the litmus test. And they're going to say, well, you mean I got to overcompensate for what I used to be like? Yes, nigga, you do. You got to be the anti-nigga. Now, I don't mean the white supremacist anti-nigga. I mean, you got to be the the militant pro-black, actual, authentically pro-black anti-nigga. Yes, you got to overcompensate. You got to be like Malcolm. When you do come out that prison, if you're really a changed man, you better have been through that library. You better be literate in your first language. If it's French, English, Spanish, or what, you better be literate in it. You better know how to write paragraphs, dissertations. You better know the difference between quotations with references and plagiarism. You need to have that pro-academic, pro-bookish culture that you would have said was lame back in the day. If you don't have that, nigga, you ain't sufficiently reformed enough. And we need to make that the standard. The ones who meet that standard don't have to be argued about. They can come, obviously. The ones who do not meet that further-mucking standard, we need to just leave them out. They ain't got to go back to being IDNS, but they can't come with us with that mess. We can't afford that. None of that. We can't even afford people that sound like that. Because what happens when they hear each other? And they start reminiscing on the old days. And then they start looking at us as lame again. And they look at something we've built and they say, yeah, man, we finna take this thing over. They don't know what they doing with it. They don't know how to please these bitches. Of course we don't. That's why you called them bitches to begin with. I think you get the idea. Thanks for listening. I hope that one day this won't be true anymore, but, until then, I hope this helps. Black art, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-former IDNS Pookie power just because they don't like it. P.S. Before I forget, I'm not just telling you to leave them behind. That is, until they're ready to pass that standard. I'm telling you to leave behind every single sister, so-called sister, that comes to you and says, what about them? They've changed now and they should get a second chance, without them overcompensating for the IDNS that they used to be. Every single one that says it, whether she is from the hood, the country, the trailer parks, a farm, a barn behind the farm, or if she is from Cascade or Prince George's County, one of those suburbs, whatever the further-mucking case is, whether she's an 82 octane or a 99 octane, whatever the case is, don't just leave him behind till he's ready to become the further-mucking opposite of what he was and what he would have called the lame. You leave her behind too. And as a matter of fact, that's a litmus test. You want to know if a sister can really come along with us or not, and there are those who could. Now, the best ones of them would be the ones that repatriate before we do, and we land somewhere and they're already there doing their own thing. That's the real litmus test. But look, you really want to know Whether or not you can take her with you, you can, you could run the same test or get one of her friends to ask the question hypothetically about the triplets I just told you about. Triplets. The difference is one's an ex-womanizer, the other one's a womanizer, the other one's a virgin. You can get them to answer that question, and if they don't say, well, between those three, the virgin, or neither, she can't come. She can't come tag along. Now, some of you say, well, Black, you're equating success with being a bad dude on the streets. Well, I mean, you're equating success with women with being a bad dude on the streets. Yes, I am. In Black America, I absolutely am. In white America, too, really, but definitely in Black America, I am making that equation in this case. Because we already know how common it is that many uneducated and educated sisters alike don't want the guy that does not have knuckle experience in the club and up in a bunch of other women's guts. So, walaikum salam. So, yeah, that's just what it's got to be. So that's going to be the litmus test by which you know who you got to leave behind and who you can take along with you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being patient with my little addendum at the end. Assalamu alaikum.